Welcome to this week's Bible Topics discussion. We're glad you're with us today as we discuss 5 interesting facts in the book of Acts. That sort of rhymes, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Of course, with its 28 chapters, there are plenty more than 5 interesting facts in the book of Acts. But a video on that many would be quite long, so we thought we'd just keep it to 5. Acts is known far and wide for Acts chapter 2, where on the day of Pentecost, the Holy Spirit came down and blew through a house, and the apostles and others received the baptism with the Holy Spirit and spoke with other tongues. But today we're going to move past that and into many other things that took place over the next few years.
Yep. Number 1 fact is in Acts 3. The chapter tells about a man born lame from birth. His friends used to lay him at the temple so that he could beg money from people going in. Peter and John came along and spoke to him about Jesus, and he was healed in a moment. He jumped up and began leaping and walking around. The miracle here, of course, is his healing. But one amazing point is that he knew how to walk without having learned how. Remember, he was lame from birth, so he had never learned to walk, but he could now do so supernaturally.
Number 2 fact is found in Acts chapter 5, where Ananias and Sapphira sold land and donated a portion of it to the church, but made it appear that they had given all of the selling price to the church when they had not. They had kept out some for themselves. The sin was not in giving only a portion to the church. The sin was in making it appear they had given it all. Peter said they had lied to the Holy Spirit. When Peter confronted Ananias about it, he was struck down and died. Men carried him out and buried him. 3 hours later, Sapphira came in and was confronted. She too fell down dead and was carried out and buried with her husband. The oddity here is that her husband died and was buried without his wife ever being told.
Number 3 is in Acts 11. Have you ever wondered when Christians were first referred to as Christians? Well, a very faithful Christian named Barnabas, a friend of Paul's, went to Tarsus to find him. This was when he was still known as Saul. Verses 25 and 26 say, "And he left for Tarsus to look for Saul, and when he had found him, he brought him to Antioch. And for the entire year they met with the church and taught considerable numbers. And the disciples were first called Christians in Antioch." Now there were 2 cities named Antioch in the Bible. This one was Syrian Antioch. The other Antioch was in Asia Minor. Both were key cities in Paul's ministry and in the spreading of the gospel in the early days of the church.
Number 4 is from Acts chapter 12, verses 21 through 23. On an appointed day, Herod, having put on his royal apparel, took his seat on the rostrum and began delivering an address to them. The people kept crying out, "The voice of a God and not of a man." And immediately an angel of the Lord struck him because he did not give God the glory, and he was eaten by worms and died. This was Herod, the nephew of Herod Antipas, who had beheaded John the Baptist and had tried Jesus. We just sort of threw that one in because it's so odd, and you don't hear about it in sermons much. It certainly serves to teach us not to try and steal God's glory.
Yep. Number 5 is from Acts chapter 17, verse 11. It is talking about the Christians in Berea. It says, "Now these were more noble-minded than those in Thessalonica, for they received the word with great eagerness, examining the scriptures daily to see whether these things were so." We have a great deal of respect for the Christians there because They didn't just take what someone said as truth. They looked it up. Not everyone did that.
You have to respect someone who doesn't just believe what someone says because they said it and it sounds good. Well, that's it for this week. Please like, comment, and share, and look for 5 more interesting facts in the book of Acts next week. Let us know if you have questions or would like to suggest a topic for discussion. We'd love to hear from you.
See you next week. Be blessed.